Hello everyone, my name is Beatrice, but everyone calls me B. I'm a business major. I'm really excited about taking this class because as a business major, I'm going to be making speeches or talking to people about different things. And so I really think that this class is gonna really help me to be able to speak to groups or any setting where I would have to give a speech. I'm great one-on-one, but I really want to kind of shake off the nerves of being able to speak to a group. So I'm really excited to take this class. I've been thinking all day about communication mishaps and what I wanted to do my speech about. And I work in retail, so I definitely have a bunch of communication mishap stories from customers and coworkers and things like that. But I wanted it to be a little bit more personal, so I picked one that involved my boyfriend. My boyfriend is Sam, and when I met Sam, I was done dating. I had online dated and it just went horribly wrong. But my sister was like, "You have to meet this guy from work," and I did. I met him, and as soon as I did, it was love. So I'm super lucky and I'm really grateful for him. But what I wanted to talk about is a communication mishap that we had that I didn't realize was happening until I was actually sitting in a restaurant, in our favorite pho restaurant, with the smells of basil in the air and fried onion, and just us in a booth by ourselves just talking. And I realized that we had a little bit of a communication mishap, which is really interesting to me because I always thought I was a great communicator. But relationships test you every day, and so it really did test us this day. So Sam and I had our first date by the Rockwell Harbor, and it was 8 hours long. Like, we had lunch at this barbecue place, which had like this amazing coleslaw, brisket, and then we went and we sat by the harbor and we just talked for 6.5 hours. Like, our friends were actually texting us like, "Hey, are you okay?" because our date was so long. But on this particular date, we had talked about a lot of things. We talked about our family and our goals and life, and kind of what our timeline looked like, which is really good because we're in our 30s, so there's no time to waste. And so I remember particularly on this day, we had talked about our timeline and what that looked like. And I said, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And he said, "Married with kids." And I was like, "That's great, because that's where I see myself in 5 years, married with kids." So I left it at that. So this day, sitting in pho, he jokingly brought up our first date and how people don't have 8-hour dates. And so I was like, "You're totally right. People don't, but I'm really glad we did, and we got everything talked through, especially our timeline." And he said, yeah, our timeline. He's like, "I remember." And then I was like, and we got into it a little bit more, and I remember saying, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And he said, "Married with kids." Well, in his timeline, he was thought about being married after like 2 or 3 years of dating, and my timeline, I saw myself being married after 1 year of dating, or at least engaged after 1 year of dating, because I don't want a long engagement. And so on this day, we realized that what he thought he said and what I thought I said were not the same thing. So we sat in this little restaurant for 2 hours until they closed, and then we sat in his car again for another 2 hours to try to figure this out. I think that when we talked about marriage, I see marriage as a very concrete word, and so my plans are very strong, and so he was also very strong in his feelings, and it comes from different worldviews. Like, his parents weren't engaged for or dating for like 5 years before they got married. My parents dated for a couple of years before they got married, but my parents were really young when they got married, and so he wanted to really take his time and not get married super young, which to me 30 isn't, but again, communication mishap. And I feel like a lot of times he's kind of decoding what I'm saying too, so I have to give him credit for that, because sometimes I'm not the greatest at getting across my message clearly, because I think that this person and other people and I, when we're talking, are always on the same page, which I've realized recently is not the case. So long story short, we talked and we talked and we talked, and we finally came to the decision that we are going to date. And when we both feel like we are committed and ready to put in the work for every day to be married and to actually live out the vows that we want to exchange, then that's when we'll get married. But he brought up the subject of how long is too long and how long is too short. And I think 2 years is good. He thinks 3 years is better. 5 years is the best. So you all hearing my story and maybe having your own relationships and your own conversations with your significant others, I want to ask you guys what you guys think, and maybe some of you will agree with us that we just want to live life, and whenever we're ready and not put a time limit on it. But I'm definitely interested in hearing what you guys have to say, and hopefully you guys learn something from our story, and maybe you're gonna go home and say, hey, what does your timeline look like? But definitely let me know what you guys think, and I'm really excited to be in this class with you guys, and I can't wait to watch your videos. Thank you so much.